Sage Wanderer coming at you from my van down by the river. So, I've got a theory I'd like to share with you about what I believe is coming for 2018. Are we looking at the Civil War unfolding in the United States in the summer of 2018? Well, we've been talking about this for a long time, more than a year, some of us, since the inauguration of Donald Trump, when the left announced their resistance. We saw Antifa rise as a tool of the left, paid protesters backed by George Soros' billions of dollars, flooding the streets in protest, many of them not even knowing the details of their complaint or being unable to express themselves verbally and explain what exactly it is they're protesting. And we've seen violence. We've seen people receive serious injuries, and there's even been some deaths related to the violent protests that went on last summer. Now, there's a thing called the Trump Derangement Syndrome. It's an actual thing, come to find out, that it's a bit of a mental illness, or at least a fugue, a state of confusion that was brought about against members of the left because of the press. Now, let me explain. The press convinced certain elements of the public that our next president was going to be Hillary Clinton. They promised it. They laughed at Donald Trump, said he had no chance of ever winning. They guaranteed it in people's minds. Not only that, when they saw that Donald Trump might win, they demonized him in such a way that their followers believed it would be the end of the world if Donald Trump were to become president. Suddenly, the world would stop turning. That it could be the worst, that he's literally Hitler. And that when Hillary lost the election and the reality of a Donald Trump presidency set in, a mass hysteria known as the Trump Derangement Syndrome erupted in our country. Now, the people, the psychologists who have categorized this and have talked about this say that it will go away, that it will gradually decrease as it becomes more and more apparent that Donald Trump isn't literally Hitler. And the more time that passes that he doesn't do Hitlery things, then Trump Derangement Syndrome will go away. However, I don't think you ever get cured of Trump Derangement Syndrome. I think it just becomes latent. It just becomes asleep. It falls behind the scenes and goes dormant, as it were, until he does something that might be construed as Hitlery. And then it will come out if he does anything that they think, we were right all along. Look, see, we were right. It's horrible. Look what he's doing. And so far, he hasn't been able to do much. You know, the DACA thing, the wall, all of this triggers them into thinking that he's literally Hitler. And so what is going to change in 2018? He's going to continue to not look Hitlery because, bottom line is Donald Trump isn't literally Hitler. We who support him know what he is and know what he's trying to do. And it's nothing but good for the country. And at the State of the Union address this year, we definitely saw him enumerating and listing all of the things that we brought him there to do, he's doing, and the economy is rebounding. And this is all great medicine against the Trump Derangement Syndrome. However, something is about to happen that is really unrelated to Donald Trump. It's beyond Donald Trump's control. There's a little blind lady. There's a little lady with scales in one hand and a sword in the other and a blindfold who has an issue with Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and members of the highest level of the FBI and the Department of Justice. This vengeful lady I'm talking about is Lady Justice. And she is blind to whether you're Republican or Democrat, and she doesn't really care who's in office. And she's blind to your political party. All she sees is broken rules, broken laws, and criminals in need of punishment. That's what the sword's for. Is the sword of punishment coming from Lady Justice for Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, members of the FBI and the Department of Justice? What will this do to the dormant Trump derangement syndrome sufferers? What will this do to those that suffer the Trump derangement syndrome? Will they be triggered? Will a bigger and worse round of Trump derangement syndrome erupt? What I'm trying to say is that Antifa has not gone away. They have been underground training. They have been arming. They have been buying guns. They have been stockpiling ammunition. They have been getting in shape. The poor little basement-dwelling couch potatoes have been putting on muscle mass this winter, my patriot friends. That they're not going anywhere. They're the tried and true, the true believers. And they are preparing. And when Hillary Clinton is inevitably tracked down by Lady Justice and put in chains, when Barack Obama himself is potentially prosecuted for crimes against the American people while he was president of the United States, that the Trump derangement syndrome people will see this as Trump being literally Hitler, although really Trump will have very little, if anything, to do with it. It will be the true believers of justice who are pushed on by Lady Justice to make sure that the scales are balanced. So, what happens when Lady Justice comes for these people and the left Trump derangement syndrome sufferers believe that it is a Hitler act, an act of Hitler, that Donald Trump is literally Hitler and trying to put a police state, trying to put in a totalitarian right-wing racist regime? Do you think they will arm themselves, and do you think that they will come to the table of war? In some way, if it's just pipes and sticks and clubs in the street, or whether it's guns and bombs and weapons of mass destruction. The deep state, will they jump on board? Of course they will, to some degree. There will be a civil war within the deep state, within those alphabet soup organizations, the good guys that are in there that are believers of Lady Justice, and those who are just trying to pad their pockets, and those that are true believers of the communist ideology will all have it out for control of these organizations, and it may even happen in our own military, while the demonstrations in the streets get bigger and more dangerous and become more aggressive and more violent. Will I get to do any fishing in 2018? In the summertime? When it gets warm outside? I don't know. I'm trying to get my fishing in early while I still can. Because we may be running for our life, or at least glued to our televisions as all of this plays out. Civil war in the summer of 2018? It's a distinct possibility. If anyone gets justice and gets arrested for some of the things that have been going on in Washington, D.C., it could trigger this civil war. Hang on to your hats, patriots. We're in for a wild ride. God save the Republic.